attackers were smart in the feeding of their rifle magazines as they were in burning the cars, then we may never even have any fingerprint evidence at all. And this is very telling of an Al-Shabaab attack. They really don't give a damn whether you find it's them or not.
All right. Ndongo, let me just bring you in. You're the one who raised the point here. You were talking about this being a red herring of it not being Al-Shabaab. Maybe you can just elaborate a little bit more.
Yes, I mean, the more we analyze the attack itself, as terrible as it was, but the analysis of it will give us a lot of answers. You find, the ethnic profiling that was used in selecting the victims of the attack, the gender profiling that was used in selecting the victims of the attack, is something that Al-Shabaab never has had time to do. Al-Shabaab will throw a grenade randomly into a crowd. It doesn't select ethnically or gender. Yeah. They would shoot randomly in a mall, as we saw in Westgate. They were not selecting men, women, or children or race. We had scattered reports of selecting, people from religious backgrounds here and there. But Muslims were killed, Christians were killed, Indians were killed, Africans were killed, Europeans were killed. But here you have a specific methodology, a specific MO, specific instructions. Choose a specific gender, choose a specific ethnicity for execution. That
All right, let me just bring Abdullahi from New York. Maybe you can comment about this, Abdullahi. And Ndongo Gedenji he's the chair of the National Defense Committee. His assertion is that this has absolutely no fingerprints of Al-Shabaab. What do you think?
I still think we got to be very careful, because when we say that they banned vehicles to hide their trails, they do that all the time. They did it when they attacked in Garissa. They didn't select they banned everything down. So I think using that as an entry point, I think will kind of confuse us.
But how about the selection of the men who were attacked? It was predominantly men who were killed, men of one or rather predominantly one ethnicity. That doesn't seem very much like Al-Shabaab. The Westgate attack, like Ndongo said, quite a number of people were killed. Although, to correct you, Ndongo, there was a bit of pre-selection based on religion. What do you think, though, Abdullahi?
And I still think that one thing that we have to be very, very clear about this group is the fact that they are very suave. Probably they realized that the amount of mistakes that they made during Westgate was making them look terrible than they already are. And they decided, why don't we play a PR game here by not killing children and women?
All right, so hold that thought, Abdullahi. There's another perspective to this, of course, and not just that it was Al-Shabaab or that it was politically linked, but something that Mutahi Ngunyi, political analyst who's been studying the subject of militias in the country, has actually published a book about. Just take a listen to what Mutahi Ngunyi's perspective on who could be responsible is.
Al-Shabaab presence in Kenya, in our view, is negligible. It is more flamboyant than real. But behind every Al-Shabaab attack, there is a rented group of terrorists. And this group of terrorists are militia groups. We counted 238 of them. That if we think that the Al-Shabaab is existing in Kenya, its presence is only supported by the existence of back force. And this back force are the militia groups. These groups cannot exist and they cannot do the terrorist attacks they are doing in the country without the support of the police. So actually the police are right at the thick of it. What we have is not police absence, what we have is police abstinence. That is, the police are present, but they are abstaining from dealing with the situation. It's partly because they are either partakers of crime or they are themselves, they are overwhelmed.
All right, Mutahi Ngunyi's assertions, they're very interesting, also very controversial. Abdullahi, let's just complete this with you. Final word with respect to what Mutahi Ngunyi is saying. Is this rented terrorism?
I think I have tremendous respect for Mutahi Ngunyi. But I think there is, he's making a huge leap from saying, from his report. I read his paper before. So the paper was about urban gangs. So it requires a serious theoretical leap for you to say to use the same methodology and move to a terrorist group. So I think for me, there is a methodological problem with Mutai's assertion.
Yeah.
The fact that there are, people out there who can be bought and do this job. I mean, Al-Shabaab operates, it's like an onion ring, they are the core people who actually do the more sophisticated stuff, and there are others who are on the go, just give them 200 here and there and continue to do this.
Abdullahi, we could talk about this all night, but I'll have to wind it up. Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for your time, live from New York. Abdullahi Boru, Horn of Africa specialist. Wenda, because you're in the studio with us, I'll just give you one word to complete this. What do you think? Is it renter terrorism or not?
This is going to be a very long debate for the next couple of days. I want to ask that as a country, maybe it's time we stop everything we are doing, everybody, politicians, everyone, and for once consider our national security and social integration, most importantly, than even our own ambitions, politically or otherwise.
All right.
So whether this is rented or not, I think Kenya is greater
than everybody else. Perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, joining us on phone as well was Gedenji Ndungu. He's the chair of the National Defense Committee. I'll just take this back to you. Of course, what Mwenda said is very important.